Exactly.
You like the band U2?
I do. Yes, I do.
That's great. It's a beautiful day! Over coming around the horse red wedding episode right now. Let's go because there will be surprises. There will be booze. There will be name calling, more mutes. There will be a gathered feud to celebrate the Black Hawks in Chicago. Look at that. Most of all, though, there will be mute. Let's do this.
Keep them coming. Keep them coming.
Points still coming off. The points are still coming off.
It's Around the Horn, presented by Guinness Black Lager, part of Happy Hour.
He got me 500 points if he coaches anywhere else next season.
Yes, the music, you know it's real, it's spectacular, Jackie Mack. Woo.
More.
As the points continue to fall off,
Keep
gotta
going.
say, Jackie, we salute you for showing up, taking your penalty like a pro.
I'll work for points, Tony. I will. I will work for
And for
points.
triple
Too late
digits
to
as
beg,
we approach minus 100 for the first time ever, the Macho Man Randy Savage mute.
Triple digits.
I think we broke
Long
the
way to
system.
go.
I think we broke this. You've done it, Jackie. You have broken the system. Minus 500. Can we get to minus 500, Brian? Can we just get there, please, today? There it is.
Hey.
Look at that number. All right.
Thanks.
You got your work cut out for you, Jackie. It's the Jackie 500. Let's go to work.
It's the first word.
And it's a draft unlike any other. Up was down. Black was
White.
good was
Bad?
day was
Night.
yes. Cleveland with Anthony Bennett, number 1. Even he seemed shocked. Oladipo, Porter, Zeller, Len following. And then finally, the presumed top 2 picks, Noel via trade, going to Philly, and McLemore to Sacramento. Adonde, Bennett at number 1. Nobody had that. What did you think of the pick?
It was wild, and the crazy thing is so much happened in the draft afterward that you forgot that, oh yeah, this is one of the most surprising and suspenseful number 1 picks that we've ever seen. But I can't be that crazy about it because I like a sure thing with the number 1 pick, and that's not what you're getting with Bennett. Not very experienced, and then you saw in his one time in the big dance, he shot 4 for 11 in a
Well,
loss
was there a sure thing in this draft? Just interrupt you for a second.
You can at least get a tall thing, for example, so you can be assured of some height.
You just said you wanted a short thing, not a tall
something that
thing,
we've
Adonde.
seen perform a little bit better. Somebody that we've seen get his team to the Final Four, for example, and that's not what the Cavs are getting in Bennett. They're also getting somebody that's a little redundant, I would think, getting another 6'7" player. Don't they have one of those?
Woody Page, get in there.
Yeah, in fact, I'm not crazy about this deal either. What are they doing? Stockpiling power forwards from Canada? 2 years ago, they draft Thompson, who's a guy from Canada. Now they get Bennett, a guy from Canada, who plays the same position. This is the 3rd time they've gone after a player from UNLV. There seems to be a theme here for the Cavaliers. I didn't like the pick at all. If you couldn't go for a big thing or a sure thing, at least you could have gone for a veteran thing, J.A. You could have traded away and gotten a perimeter defender. That's where they really need the help. And as Bennett, we all know one thing about Bennett, he plays no defense. The running Rebels don't even think about playing defense. Here's another guy who's hurt. He thinks he's Larry
Reports
Johnson.
were up
Give me
to
a
2
break.
hours, an hour before the draft. Cleveland was still shopping this pick. Didn't find anyone to buy into it. Kalisha, let's hear from you.
Well, that's what I thought. I thought this is obviously a team that tried to the last minute to trade it. Didn't want to take the risk on Noel. Doesn't think the other guys were a fit. Although, as Adonde and Woody said, I'm not exactly sure how Bennett fits. And when I heard his name, I thought, have I ever seen this guy play? The last time a Vegas player went first, Larry Johnson, we'd all seen him play 20 times. We knew his game. Vegas was the biggest team in the land.
You're not getting points for admitting that you never saw the man play, Kalisha.
I probably did, but he left no impact. I'm still 500 points ahead of somebody. I'm not that worried about it. I just,
And now,
it's a very weird move.
And now, at minus 500, Jackie Mack, your first answer.
Well, let me tell you this. You guys are all looking for a sure thing. I can tell you there's no such thing as a sure thing in sports. I've just experienced that firsthand. And so really in this draft, any player you picked was a bit of a gamble. You mentioned, Woody, that Bennett doesn't play any defense. He's going to play for one of the best defensive coaches in the NBA in Mike Brown. And you get a lot of college players that come into the NBA not understanding what defense is all about. Mike Brown will teach them in a real hurry. I'm not going to kill the Cavs for making this pick. Noel would have been the wrong pick for them for a lot of reasons, starting with the fact that he probably wasn't even going to be ready at the start of the season.
So everybody was shocked by the pick. Do you believe a shocking draft is better than a Any other type of draft? A good draft, Adonde, as a reporter?
It was suspenseful. I had zero interest and expectations for the draft coming in, and it wound up being very entertaining, from the Brazilian Afro to all the trades going on. And it turned out it was one of the highest-rated drafts in the last 10 years since the LeBron-Carmelo draft. So it wound up being very intriguing.
I've been around drafts since 1970, and this was the weirdest draft since a coach told me he was picking the best athlete available and picked Bruce Jenner. I don't know that you could have said it was he was.
Sometimes we see one guy slide. The guys who were supposed to go 1 and 2 were available at 6. I don't remember that in any other draft.
Jack Mack.
And you know what? We haven't even mentioned the fact that Jrue Holiday got traded on a different kind of night. That would kind of be a big deal.
No. We will get to Jrue Holiday and Noel a little bit later in buy or sell. Minus 493. Look how scrunched it is. You look like the back of South Alabama's jersey right now, Jackie Mack. So minus 500 is what you started with. And to think, we could have tempted you into going double or nothing on Pierce and Garnett, because you would have made it a true daily double. Celtics, as you knew them, ceased to exist. Nets,
in a hurry.
They combined 107 years older now in the last 24 hours. Pierce, Garnett, Terry going one way, 3 first-round picks. Gerald Wallace, an expiring contract. Like, hey, what do you want from me? Going the other way. How should Celtics fans feel about this deal today, Jackie?
Well, I think they're probably feeling a little nostalgic and a little sad. I mean, this is truly the end of an era. And I think we knew it was coming, especially when Doc Rivers went to the Clippers. And, you know, these are the guys that won you Banner 17, that 2008 championship. Paul Pierce turned out to be one of my favorite Celtics of all time because of the arc of his personal growth. And you wanted him to begin and end his career in Boston. But it makes sense for the Celtics. They're going to rebuild. You stockpile first-round picks when you want to do that, and expiring contract. The only thing I didn't like, Tony, I don't understand why you want to take on Gerald Wallace, 3 years left at $30 million. That's what should give every Celtics fan pause.
Show you're making this deal?
I think the other problem with Wallace is he's still, when he's healthy, he's a pretty good player, and he might, what they have left, might keep them away from the very top of the draft. They're going to be bad. They're not going to be a playoff team, but they're not going to be the worst team in the league the way they're constituted now. But we can't assume that Danny Ainge is done, and this is the last thing we're going to hear of any kind of moves. The thing I would be a little bit excited about as the Celtics move on, they've got, in 4 of the next 5 drafts, they've got 2 first-round picks. I know picks are devalued in this era, but teams do hit on them. Damian Lillard wasn't the first pick of the draft. The Spurs roster, other than Duncan, is filled with guys who went later in the draft. You can't hit on a couple of those, and that can turn your team back around.
Woody Page?
Kalishaw, get back to me in 2020 talking about 4 out of the 5 next drafts. They have 2 first-round picks. I won't be around to see that.
Don't say that,
Jackie, you're saying it's the end of an era. It's the beginning of an era. As far as I'm concerned, this is an era. You could have gotten a lot more, I think, than what ended up. No, error, like a mistake.
I follow you there, but okay, please go ahead. We're getting really deep here.
But the point is that I think the Celtics are going to go through a stretch where their fans are going to be so upset over the next 4 or 5 years because they're just going to be a mediocre to lousy team during that time.
Do you believe this is like the Marlins burning down the house, Woody Page?
Oh, totally. I mean, I know the Celtics twice before have gone through rebuilding periods and they built it back up, but in both of those cases, it took less time than I think this is going to take during a
I applaud Danny Ainge for not clinging to false hope and realizing this is the time to hit the reset button. You'd rather do it too soon than too late, and this group had run its course. I'm just curious about the way he's doing it, though, because think about it, the way they rebuilt the last time was through trades, and they had tradable assets, including Al Jefferson, which brought in Kevin Garnett and was the centerpiece of this whole Celtics revival. Do they have that type of asset now that can bring in a disgruntled superstar? Because I think that's what's going to take. They're going to have to find someone, a Dwight Howard type that is kind of played out his run in a city and wants to go somewhere else and that they can trade for, that they have those type of assets. Are the picks that they're going to have? They're not going to have great picks from New Jersey. Is what they're getting from New Jersey, is what they're going to get from their own draft picks going to be enough to bring in a superstar via trade? Because that's how I think it's going to happen.
I want to go back to Jackie here. Is this like the Marlins burning down the house?
I think it's worse than that because of the great Celtics tradition and because of the stature of these guys that you're getting rid of. And yet we all knew it was coming. The house was burned down, in my opinion, last year. You knew when that season started they weren't a championship contender.
And one word or less, real quick, on the Nets. Did they get better, older, bolder, netter? Adonde, one word.
Temporarily better.
That's not one word.
Oh.
Woody Page.
Top 4.
Kalishaw.
Exciting.
Thank you. And Jackie Mack.
closer.
Okay, minus 496 is the number for Jackie Mack. But she's got a chance. Is that 486?
86. I'd be winning on a regular day.
She's got a chance in buy or sell. We're taking our break right now. Coming up in buy or sell, David Stern bathing in booze last night. And Doc and Simmons exchanging haymakers. Stick around.
Around the Horn is presented by Guinness Black Lager. There's just something about black. Please enjoy responsibly. Part of happy hour.
Try the new.
Just get to 400 even. That's my goal right now.
Big goal. That's breaking the scoring record.
Yes. Well, I've already broken it one way. I might as well break it.
Buy or sell.
All right, Jack. Time to make your move. If you average 165 points per buy or sell, you're right back in this ball game. Noel fall into 6. We've seen this before. Would-be, could-be's number one's dropping. Nerlens said he's going to make the teams that passed on him pay. One that didn't pass on him but traded him, New Orleans. And I'm interested if you think the Pelicans should have kept him and paired him with Anthony Davis rather than trade him to Philadelphia. So you buy Noel's drop, the Pelicans trade, Noel's vow of payback, J.A.?
I'm buying the trade for the Pelicans because amid all the uncertainty in the draft last night, guess what? The Pelicans got a guy who played in the All-Star game last year. How many other teams can say they acquired that in the draft last night? They also seem to energize and excite Eric Gordon, who was disgruntled at best last year.
Okay.
He tweeted that he was excited and he was using first-person references for the team. That's a good sign.
Yeah, I'm buying the Birds in this case. They made the right decision. They already have Anthony Davis. They don't need another project center. I'm selling his statement about, oh, those teams will pay for it. Let's see him accomplish something before he starts talking big time.
Oh, you don't think that's motivating for him, that he's been passed? We've seen that with Aaron Rodgers and other players in other sports before.
Get on the court.
Well, I agree. I like what the Cans are doing down in New Orleans, but I'm selling Noel, you know, just saying he's going to show people. He needs to figure out why he lost millions of dollars last night, why he went from 1 to 6 and fix whatever the problem is.
And I know Nerlens is disappointed, but I'm actually buying him dropping to that far down in the draft because you know what? There was no clear number one. This is a kid that's rehabbing from a major injury. He doesn't need all the pressure of being the number one pick. We've seen it with Kwame Brown, Michael Olowokandi, a lot of guys that number one pressure really destroyed them. This is going to be good for him.
While teams looked for stars that might not have been there, the star was David Stern, chewing through scenery and eating booze.
I can't hear you. The boo is an American sign of respect. Your enthusiasm seems to be dwindling. Stop it, you're ruining all the fun.
And he ends it with a dream shake. How great is that? What do you think of the way the commissioner handled his last draft, Woody Page?
Too often Stern lived up to his name. He was too stern. But last night, that was the most relaxed I've seen him in years. I think he handled it perfectly well by the way he kept making the gestures. And he was enjoying himself and bringing out Elijah Wan at the end, who was the first player that he ever announced as commissioner number one. I thought
Stern was great last night. I always watch Bettman, and he seems so uncomfortable whenever he's getting booed. Stern had fun with it. The only thing he didn't like was getting cheered at the end.
Jackie Mack?
You know what? To me, that was David Stern in a nutshell. He's always been irreverent. He's always been combative. And there's always been a very soft side to him that we don't see very often. I loved seeing it there with that hug with Hakeem Olajuwon at the end.
Yeah, Jack, I think you saw him get a little emotional there at the end. After all that fun he had, he gave us everything but one of these playing to the crowd. But I thought he was getting a little choked up just as he seemed to get emotional handing over the Larry O'Brien trophy for the last time last week.
Are you going to miss the commissioner, J.A.?
I certainly will. He's combative. He makes it fun, but he's great at his job, but he's also fun to spar against.
You know, they brought Hakeem back. It would have been great if he brought back the mustache for the final draft. Yeah. Who had Stern being heartwarming compared to Doc Rivers and Bill Simmons last night? You guys see that?
It worked out, but he quit on the Celtics. Let's be honest.
I would like to call him an idiot, but I'm too classy for that. So, I mean, that's just his opinion. That didn't happen, and he really needs to know the whole truth, which he doesn't.
When he sticks to a story, I'll believe the truth.
Okay, a lot to get in there. Let's start with Simmons' assertion that Doc quit on the Celtics. Buy or sell that first, Kalisha.
I have to sell that. You can't say on the one hand the Celtics didn't want to pay him $7 million a year while the teams were building and then say he's the problem because he quit. Every college coach who ever leaves quits on his team if that's your story.
Jackie?
You know what? If he was quitting on the team, then I would never have made that 500-point guarantee, Tony. He was so indecisive all the way around here. So I don't think it's really fair to say he outright quit on them. I can understand the disappointment from Celtics fans and maybe from Bill Simmons, but quitting, that's going to...
Adonde?
He quit on you, Jack. He left you hanging. That's why you're halfway to a negative 1,000. But he didn't quit on the Celtics. You could argue the Celtics quit on him. He saw the direction this was going. It's not like it's a surprise that they traded Garnett and Paul Pierce. So he got while the getting was good. He'd already been through that. He'd already been 17 games under 500 with that team. Why go through it again?
Okay, Woody Page?
Well, I think if Simmons had said he quit on the franchise or the ownership or maybe even the fans, but his team that he actually coached was going, gone, starting with Ray Allen last year. This was not the team he built to glory. I think he hung in there for long enough.
I realize I'm talking to 4 reporters here, but is it really so bad if a coach calls a reporter an idiot? Is it really so bad? Come on. Reporters call coaches worse in their columns. Well, Jackie Mack, minus 474. An historic day here on Around the Horn. It's been said the mute is an American sign of respect. We applaud you here today, Jackie Mack.
Yes, thank you. I'm feeling a little bit like an American idiot myself today.
Don't say that, Jackie Mack. One for the record books. We will live in history. Now he belongs to the ages. Out of Bounds is next for our panel. And coming up, why Josh Brent is still a member of the Dallas Cowboys.
A 9-for-9 film.
Welcome back to Around the Horn, presented by Guinness Black Lager. There's just something about black. Please enjoy responsibly. Part of Happy Hour.
Adonde in page 21, Kalishaw. Some might say he made it a little closer than maybe should have been with Jackie's minus 500.
I heard footsteps.
But he's in the out of bounds as well.
It's Out of Bounds.
Josh Brent still at this moment a member of the Dallas Cowboys. Ed Werder reported last night the team has no immediate plans to release him. His positive marijuana test has netted him back in jail 6 months after his DUI that took the life of teammate Jerry Brown. The Cowboys in that moment decided to let the legal process play out, something the Patriots just this week elected not to do after Aaron Hernandez's arrest for murder. So I want to ask you, Tim Kalishaw in Dallas, what do you think of the way Brent is still being allowed to be a member of the Cowboys roster?
No, I think it's ridiculous. I think Cowboy fans are embarrassed about it, and it's par for the course here. The team lost control of this situation right away. That footage you showed of Josh Brent walking on the sidelines in a sweatshirt is from the Pittsburgh game, where he went to the sidelines for the first half, and it only came out later that Jason Garrett didn't even know he was going to be down there. There was no discussion about that. He just showed up there and they let him down there. He's tested positive, allegedly, for marijuana twice during his this time waiting for the intoxication manslaughter trial, violating his probation. There's no reason to have him on the roster at this point.
Woody Page.
Well, the first thing I heard this, I said, well, maybe there's some salary cap implications. That would be the only reason the Cowboys could possibly want to keep him around. But according to what I've been told, that's not the case. So why would you keep him on your roster? It's an insult to the fans. It's an insult to the Browns family. It's an insult to the Cowboys organization. Get rid of him.
Adonde.
Yeah, Woody, even if there were salary cap implications, you still have to do it. Otherwise, what type of message are you sending? What type of responsibility and accountability are you taking for this? And sometimes the argument is that by keeping a guy within the team, you're offering support, you want to help rehabilitate him. But if he's not interested in rehabilitating himself, if he's continuing to allegedly fail drug tests, then what purpose is there for him to be associated with the Cowboys? You talk about people wanting to bring dishonor or bringing dishonor to the shield. In this case, he's bringing dishonor to the star, and the Cowboys.
We talked about the Ravens 13 years ago standing by Ray Lewis from his first charge. Do you believe there is support being provided for Brent in this instance right here by the Cowboys, Kalishaw?
I think obviously they were trying initially. I don't think it's working, judging by his failures so far.
Second horn, Kalishaw. The weekend starts right now for you. Wave goodbye, and that's it for Timmy. And the showdown is next for Paige and for Adonde. 2 enter, but only 1 will leave. And straight ahead, you want Yasiel Puig to run through a wall? You need Yasiel Puig to run through a wall. Gotta ask, is the wall okay?
Around the Horn is presented by Guinness Black Lager. There's just something about black. Please enjoy responsibly. Part of Happy Hour. And in part by Mazda and the all-new Mazda 6.
Dante and Paige, don't look so excited for making Showdown. You had like a 66% chance to get here when the show started. Showdown 1, the longest 23-game career highlight reel in baseball history, getting longer. Puig through a wall. Puig, go-ahead hits. Which play caught your eye from last night, Jay?
Well, that go-ahead hit was almost identical to the game-winning RBI he had Monday night. Going into the wall, that's a different story. More importantly, getting up and staying in the game after winning the wall.
I don't want him running into the walls. I don't want him on the disabled list. I want him at the plate, driving in runs, making big hits, hitting 425. That's what I want.
He's the whole package.
It's the whole package. It's the point for Adonde. Showdown 2, Chicago. Take a bow. Look at the turnout for the Blackhawks parade today. Woo! The team also posted a letter in the Boston Globe thanking Boston for its hospitality and sportsmanship and competitive spirit. What do you think of a team sending the opposing city they just beat for the cup a letter like that, Woody Page?
I think it was a classy gesture, just as the Bruins fans were very classy in the Garden when they sat there and applauded when the Blackhawks won and they didn't get up and walk out on it.
Unlike the Chicago Tribune, which actually took back its gesture of solidarity following the Boston Marathon bombing, the Blackhawks were much classier there. It's like an extension of the post-series handshake. Way to go, Blackhawks.
What are you celebrating? You think that's a two-point answer, Woody Page? It's not. We're out of time. 1-0's the final score. 30 seconds of face time to Adonde.
I'm very disappointed in those people that came out to actually cheer Aaron Hernandez following his court appearance this week. This is not a game against the New York Jets. This is a murder trial. This is a serious charge, and there is someone who is dead, who has family members. How do you think they're reacting when they see people outside cheering a person who might be involved in Odin Lloyd's murder and proclaiming innocence? It's one thing to presume innocence. It's another to proclaim innocence.
Professor Adonde, that was his face time for the day, but the victory went to Jackie McMullen. One more time, Jackie, thank you very much for taking your penalty the way you did. That's going to do it, folks. Thanks for coming around. We're on a 71.5-hour break. When we return Monday, everybody will be in positive figures.
Never trust your friends.
Thank goodness.
Always